All right, so we are officially live with Sebastian Sanders here. So you're a business guy, entrepreneur, public speaker, author, and you're a motivational speaker, right? And you have a huge personal brand here. So before even talking about that, how did you get into that mindset of being, an author, a motivational speaker, a businessman? What's kind of your origin story?
So for me, man, I think it started since I was a kid. My grandmother used to kind of make jokes and say, I was like 2 years old at the time. She said I used to kind of walk around the house and just grab books and just walk around talking. So I think since a kid, it was already instilled in me, especially I went to middle school and high school. I was like the lead person in a play. I had no business acting. I was just doing it, because the teacher wanted me to do it. So I think, I had affirmations throughout life that, speaking and being a person of people would always be something that I kind of walk into. And then when things kind of jumped off, for real is when I was a sophomore in college. I originally wanted to be a rapper. So at this time, I went and bought all the studio equipment. I'm amped up. I'm making songs, and then it just didn't come out. The songs wasn't just that good. But I kid you not, 3 weeks later, I created the organization Sanders Hand, and then from there, everything just took off. The speaking, all of the business adventures, it all just took off. So I think, I had, affirmation that was going to be there in my life. It just took me, a couple of trials and tribulations to get to where I'm at today.
So is it fair to say that you're an extrovert?
Yeah, I would say that. I think I have good people skills. I guess, sometimes I can be introverted. Sometimes I like to be to myself. But I like making friends. I like making connections, and I love having great conversations.
Yeah. So to provide a context here, what is Sanders Hand?
Yeah. So Sanders Hand is a 501c3 charity. We are based in Texas and in Oklahoma. Honestly, we were worldwide with our program. So we have two programs, education and community, that are both dedicated towards empowerment, innovation, and diversity. The idea and the theory behind this is to increase, the minority income level while decreasing the minority poverty level. By doing this, we have two programs that we actively, preparing our students for success. Doing this, we teach skills such as entrepreneurship, financial literacy, professional leadership. Then we cultivate that through the community, through partnerships, volunteering, and donating. So we're a program, that's for the students, by the students. We are with the hopes and the intent to, revolutionize the education system, make it more modern for our kids to, have these resources and have these skills to be successful. So since its founding, we have serviced roughly over 3,000 youth from Texas to Oklahoma, from grades from third all the way up to college level. We have annual scholarships for our programs that we award to our middle school and high school students. And I founded this in April 2017, and it's been a blessing and been grateful to see it take off and service so many and change the lives of families across.
Wait, so you said you started this 3 weeks after your rapping career?
Yeah.
Damn, so you're still in high school then?
Huh?
So you were still in high school?
I was in college at the time.
Oh, college. Oh, sophomore in college. Okay.
Yeah, I was a sophomore in college at the time. And yeah, man, I think 3 weeks after I was like, I'm done with the rap stuff, never released the songs. The idea just came into my head. And from there, I just took off and ran with it.
Yeah, because I do agree that, the school system here is very, very outdated, and especially now, I think with COVID, it just made everyone want to learn online. And, not everyone has access to internet, unfortunately. I think I was listening to a podcast. It was the Wall Street Journal one. And they're talking about, like these public schools, people, they don't have Wi-Fi and they relied on going to public schools to learn. But because everything's online through Zoom and they don't have access to that, what are they going to do? And it's super outdated nowadays. Just not in that respect, but, and how they're teaching things. And I think everyone's moving online. And as long as you have a Wi-Fi, a computer, then you can literally learn everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what are your programs exactly? And how did you kind of formulate those things?
Yeah. So our program is Define Success. So this is a 6 to 8 week leadership camp. This is tailored, towards the specific school and specific grade that we're working with. So each week you're learning something different. These are very interactive lessons. When I created this is for the students, by the students. So what I did was I spent 6 to 8 months being in the field, gaining knowledge of exactly what our kids need and exactly what they want. I didn't want to create something that I felt that I thought would be beneficial for them because I'm not in high school, I'm in college at this time. So I didn't been through the system, but I wanted to get our kids feedback. So we spent a lot of time, volunteering and just being a helping hand before we actually created our programs. Once we created our programs, we did a lot of test runs and we did a lot of analytical things, doing pre-tests and post-tests to see exactly how well our programs are performing. So each week is something different. You start off with the introduction, get to meet the kids, network and have fun. Then from there, you kind of build the foundation of success. We're going to learn about interview skills, learn about resume skills. Then we're going to learn how to be an entrepreneur. What is an entrepreneur? Then you're going to learn the communication skills, how to greet, how to talk to people in different settings. Each week is a building block. You go from the entrepreneur camp, and then you go straight to the financial literacy. With the financial literacy, what we do is once our students become entrepreneurs and create their programs, it's like Shark Tank. You get the pitch to us, and then we give you a check based off of how well you performed. With that, you learn financial literacy stuff. How can I go to the bank and put this in my checkings or my savings account? How much money should I invest? And from there, our students graduate and become Sanders student ambassadors. And so, these programs is so much fun because you're learning a lot about our kids, but they're learning so much that they even take this into their real world. This one young lady, she told me, she said, "Thank you guys for showing me how to do a resume," because I think she was a junior at the time. I want to go work at Chick-fil-A next year, but I didn't even know how to go about the whole process. Us teaching her the resume skills and the interview skills, this young lady got a job at Chick-fil-A, and then she was able to support herself throughout high school. So I think, our programs, I think they bring a unique twist to the school system because, you and I both know we've been in a classroom. I've learned some stuff that I haven't even applied to my life now. I've learned geometry that I don't even think I had to use geometry since I was a sophomore in high school. And so when we come in with a unique flavor and a youthful sense of attitude, and you're providing them with real world, experiences, you're changing their lives for the better. He or she didn't know how to go apply for a job because they didn't know how. Now they're able to go and get that job and take care of their family. He or she might have had to get a job so they can have more food at home. You just never know, with these skill sets and with the resource that you provide to our kids, how it's going to change their lives for the better. And that's something I take pride in.
And what was that trigger to really create this foundation, this program? What was there an event or something that you saw that was like, damn, like I really do need to, like, I feel a sense of responsibility of helping my community out? Do you have a story in that sense?
I think for me, it was just that moment, the light bulb clicked in my head. I'm a sophomore in college at the time. I'm kind of going through that transition period of, okay, what's my life purpose? How can I better serve people? And how can I use my God-given talents and turn it into my reality? And so I think what turned it on for me was, I think being a sophomore, I think me and all my close friends went to college together. You started to see a lot of people dip off. Freshman year, you had everybody at college. Everybody's there having a good time. The sophomore year, you started to see a lot of people dip off and go back home and just do their own thing. And being African-American, seeing it in my community impact us so bad because I was a first-generation student, you start to see that disconnect and you start to ask yourself, why exactly does that happen? Especially in our high minority and our high poverty communities. Why do a lot of these kids go to college for the first time and immediately drop out and they accumulate all of this debt and they never even use their degree? Then you have to go to the root of the problem. Where is the root of the problem? Where it starts in our school system. It starts in our communities. And so I just feel like, I think God kind of put that on me at that time to be the voice, be the voice of the generation and give back. And I think once that light bulb clicked in my head, I just, I took it and ran with it. And once it started to make more sense of to why certain things started to happen in my life, I felt like I was just walking into my purpose. And then since then, I've just been trying to live every day by just changing somebody else's life.
That's dope, bro. And like, I feel once you have that message and you have that urge to do something, there's a lot of barriers in front of your way. Because I don't know if you've done anything like this before, but in terms of logistics, fighting people, you said it's run by not only you, but by the people, all the people in your college community, right? Yeah. So how do you find, like, how did you first establish your nonprofit organization? And how did you get, educators and people to really be part of this movement?
So I think for me, I'm a big research type of person. And honestly, I like to do a lot of stuff by myself. I necessarily don't like asking for help because I like to bump my head a few times. That way I can learn the whole thing first. So what I did was, when I first created the nonprofit, like I said, I didn't know anything about nonprofits. I didn't even want to do a nonprofit. I was just going to do some giving back stuff, community drives and whatnot. But I educated myself. I surrounded myself by nonprofit leaders and started to soak up the game and understand exactly how to run a nonprofit. And what I did was, being in college, I had so much leverage. I had a lot of my friends who were looking to do the same thing so they can, help them propel in their careers. So what I did was, I sat down a lot of people and I interviewed a lot of people, and I just started to cultivate a team of people who just believed and just who had, certain talents, and we were able to create something powerful. And I surrounded myself, with people who were different than me, people who come from a different background, who may have a different passion. That's what helped us, take off so fast, because you have 5 different people in the room who come from different walks of life, and they all have a different passion, but they all want to give back. So we're able to use so many different avenues in order to change our kids' life. We were able to create some powerful things within an hour of meeting. And so that was one way that I was able to scale a nonprofit. And in order for us to, to actually get the full 501c3 status, I just started to ask questions. Whenever I go out and volunteer, how did you guys go about getting your nonprofit? Okay, you did this, you did that. I'm taking, points from these different people. And that's when I just put the formula and I put the plan together. So it took me about a year of just really just being, I would say, a book nerd or just soaking up the game in order for me to understand nonprofits. We started in July of 2017. The following year, July 2018, we applied for the 501c3. 3 weeks later, we got the admission and we got the confirmation that we were accepted. And from there, I just kept learning. Okay, well, I learned a lot, but that doesn't mean I don't need to stop learning. I just kept learning different things.
Yeah.
It's a trade, because in order to stay in business, whether you're in a nonprofit, you're in a for-profit, you got to know how to evolve, and you got to know what's coming ahead. You got to know that curve. So for me, I always wanted to stay ahead of the curve, and I think that's what kept us rolling. I didn't stop there.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge? Is it, raising money or hiring people or finding people to run the program?
I would say any biggest challenge with nonprofit is money. But I think that because of the mindset. When people hear nonprofit, oh, no money's involved. In reality, a nonprofit is a business. It's ran just like a corporate business. You have to have money in order to do services, to take care of kids. You have to have some type of income coming in. So I think the biggest challenge with it is creating something and actually using a real business model that applies to it. I think a lot of nonprofits are going in with the mindset of, I just want to create this to give back. And then they come to a point where they feel like, okay, I'm not growing. That's because you haven't applied a perfect business model to your nonprofit. And that's where I wanted to change the mindset of a nonprofit. It's basically being a social entrepreneur. You're doing something for the greater good of the community. You're not necessarily selling something to create money. Yeah, you're selling a product, but you're changing people's life. And that's when I had to kind of change the whole aspect and the whole mindset of our nonprofit. We're not just going to be the traditional nonprofit that you see come through the system and apply for grants. No, we're going to run it just like a true business. We just have a different customer. We're not really selling something. We're changing something. And so I think that's what, what helped us actually stay away from the traditional nonprofit model, and what helped us scale so fast, that we didn't go by the rules. You got to think about it. We're in a new age. This is 2020. This is new, so much technology. You can't use that same method that Red Cross used 30 years ago. What helped them become successful is not going to help me become successful in what I'm doing today. And so I think a lot of business entrepreneurs and just people in general, you use that mindset and you apply it to your business, you will see yourself scale and grow times 100.
Now, what marketing strategies did you use? Of course you can use social media, but creating a community this strong, I feel the word of mouth, especially within the community, is gonna go off, right? But in terms of moving from state to state within the country, maybe social media is gonna play a huge part. But did you have people, or were you doing all the heavy lifting in terms of the marketing strategies?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I did a lot of the marketing strategies. For me, what I used was best face to face, getting meetings, face-to-face networking, going out, handing out my business cards, being a volunteer, just being present around people was one of the ways that I networked. And I found that to be highly successful, because nonprofits are going to they're going to do okay on social media. I don't think nonprofits game is strictly social media. You have to learn how to use email lists. You have to learn how to use, ads. You have to also really, really rely on networking. It's just a word of mouth thing with nonprofit. It's kind of like when you go eat at a food place and you heard it was good from a friend. You naturally want to go try it because you heard it tastes good. That's the same thing with nonprofit. When I go work at one school, one teacher brags about how good we are, it's going to travel to the next school. And that's how we kept getting booked. That's how we kept getting schools to buy into the programs, because it was a word of mouth thing. And so I think that was most importantly for us, because we were a baby nonprofit. When you're a nonprofit, it's very hard for you to kind of get into certain doors, because they want to see 10 to 15 years of credit history. Basically, we were like 6 months in. We had literally no experiences, but we had a community behind us because we relied heavily on the networking aspect, following up with our people. Even if you don't want us to come speak, if you asked us, can you guys just come donate something? Okay, we'll be there. Just being a helping hand to your people.
Yeah.
Biggest thing in being an entrepreneur, and I think people forget this, we want to make a lot of money, but we don't necessarily invest back into our community. When you take care of your community will always take care of you. Regardless of sometimes we wanted to do something with a school, the deal didn't go through, that's okay. Those kids still needed us. So we still found ways to be present in those kids' life. And then we got it back 10 times fold. And so that was one of the marketing strategies that I use, and I still use today in my other businesses. I'm not just going to rely on social media, because any day Instagram can act up. Any day my account can get hacked. Any day I can lose it. But I got to be able to keep the ball rolling without social media. You want to be able to diversify yourself. And that's what we did. We did not only in our fundraising, but in our marketing strategy as well.
You're actually actually the only person to really talk about that. You know, everyone says, oh, you gotta have specific marketing strategies on Instagram, but you're in the trenches going into these conferences, these networks, and, being there, showing your face physically. Right. And that's that's very powerful, because social media, you can sky yourself. Of course, 30 people, 100 people can see your face, but once you're there, there's a difference between, showing yourself face to face with someone, just a better connection, right?
Exactly.
Whereas like a Zoom, it's not quite the same, right? Or on social media, it's not quite the same. But when you're there in front of someone, you can establish a real physical connection. And I think for any entrepreneur listening to this, to some degree, maybe not now because of COVID, but if you can, if you can go to actual conferences or meetups, meet people that are like-minded, just network and have a presence in that respect, and not just rely on social media.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And at what point did you start writing your book, the Art of Giving?
Yeah. So I started Art of Giving. I want to say 2018 is when I kind of played around with the idea. Originally, we weren't going to go the nonprofit route. I wanted to do a book like by myself, but then I realized I'm 20, 21 at the time. Dude, you haven't even lived enough life to write a book about yourself. You're still a baby to an extent. So I was like, okay, we'll wait off on that. But then a kid came up to me at an engagement. He was like, I want to create this nonprofit, but I don't even know where to start. And so I didn't actually have enough time to speak with him. His teacher actually called him into the room. He's a senior at the time. I was speaking to maybe freshmen. His teacher called him into the room just so he can hear it because she wanted him to kind of, soak up some game. And so we talked for like 30 minutes and I had to go speak to another class. And I gave him my contact and he kept in contact with me and things like that. But me just having that conversation with one of my kids, realizing that everybody wants to create change in somehow, but we don't know exactly where to start. I didn't even know where to start. I couldn't even really find a nonprofit book when I first started. There was so many outdated books about stuff that I didn't even want to read. And so I was like, how can I bring this problem and turn this into a solution? How can I create a platform or something for our kids to feed off of? And that's exactly where Art of Giving came from. I've been teaching everybody how to give and I've been speaking on it, but I need to create a legacy that's going to outlive me. The Art of Giving, One Nonprofit Changed the World book is going to be around forever, but I want our kids to really embody this. And that's exactly where it came from. So from 2018, the idea, I played around with it. Right before I graduated from college, I started to actually get serious with it. So I got the title. I already knew the title, right? I had to get the concept of the book. And then that's when we started to outline the chapters. Once you outline the chapters, I just start writing. I graduated from college. I remember one Saturday morning, I'm a big overthinker. So one Saturday morning, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the summer. And I think this is a Saturday night too. So this is a Sunday morning, but I was out on a Saturday night. I woke up at 6. I went downstairs. I literally wrote like the first 4 chapters within 3 hours. And I was like, yep, we're running with this. I got this. This is it. And then from there, I just started to pour in chapters and I used to take stuff away, pour in chapters, got the artwork together. And then the book just kind of formulated. And then I got the release date set about 8 months in advance. And then we just went at it. And then it got released this year. And man, it's been amazing to see it take off so fast.
That sounds very easy, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I heard looking for publishers is, extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, man. And throughout that process, you definitely wanted to go to the publisher route, but then I realized, I'm a big fan of, Nipsey Hussle, Tupac, Master P, these Black entrepreneurs who kind of went the self-made route, and I wanted to take a chance on myself. And I told myself, why would I? And there's nothing wrong with getting a publisher, but why would I? Cheat myself out of the process, out of the grind by just paying a publisher to do a lot of stuff that I could do, that I do now. And so, I was like, what? Screw that. We're gonna go do this the self-made route because I feel like if, the book is going to be a part of a series. If we keep going the self-made route and you keep investing into yourself, there's going to come a time where agents are going to knock on your door with a big advance check and say, hey, I give you $1 million to write this book. And it sounds good, but at the end of the day, they can't cheat you out of what your value, what you're owed, because I done wrote 3 books on my own and I became a bestseller on my own. So now when a person wants to work with me, I can leverage it better. The same thing with Nipsey Hussle did. He stayed independent for so long until he made his first album. He did a joint partnership. And the album won nominated for a Grammy. And he didn't have a big label putting millions of dollars behind him, but he took a chance on himself and he invested into his grind and he perfected his craft. That way, when it was time for them to come knock on his door, they couldn't shortchange him. And that was the same mindset that I went into the book with. I want to do this my route because I want to learn how to market a book. I want to learn how to write a book. I want to learn every part of the book because 10, 15 years from now, I'm going to go back and teach these kids how to do the same thing I did. And that was kind of my mindset of going the independent route. And that was one of the best decisions I've ever made because 3-4 months after that, we became a bestseller. We sold so many copies. We secured our first billboard. I probably would have had success going the publisher route, but I wouldn't learn so much throughout the process of just taking that chance on myself.
And yeah, and like you said, you get the leverage next time, and you kind of, yes, it's more difficult, the route that you took, the independent route, but
Yeah.
you learn so much. And that's why I like these entrepreneurs like Master P or even Birdman. Their stories of like Master P, he literally hand out CDs from other streets that were pretty
Yeah.
dangerous to him. Like he wasn't really allowed to get there, but he was just hustling. He wanted to get out of the streets, and
Exactly.
and he made it. Same thing with what is it, Birdman. He kind of implemented that same model where he just got mad rappers, produced mad music,
Yeah.
and he actually turned down deals because he knew that he was going to do very well.
Exactly.
And the point, like all these brand deals, all these sponsors wanted to hit him up, and eventually he had that leverage because he sold mad CDs. He was making money, and there comes a point where when you're making so much noise, it's hard for people to ignore you, and you're going to have that leverage at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So even though you can take that easy route, taking that hard route can in the long run help you out. You can get more leverage.
Most definitely. Exactly.
Do you have favorite entrepreneurs or businessmen that you kind of not inspired to be, but you've like looked up, kind of emulated?
Man, one of my favorite guys. I have a lot of guys that I like. Who's my favorite? Definitely Master P. Definitely Nip. I'm trying to think. It's an entrepreneur. I can't think about the top of my head, but it's a guy that I really like on social media. He does his thing. But for me, man, I kind of take away from a lot of people. Kobe Bryant he's always a big inspiration to me. I take away from a lot of different people. And one thing that I don't try to do is I don't try to choose somebody and I try to mimic them or idolize them, because I just become rivals. If you think in your head that I'm going to get to this next level, at some point I'm going to surpass you. But how can I be better than you? So I take a look at these different entrepreneurs. I soak up game. I listen to them, but then I look at their game plan and how they outline in their blueprint. Okay, how can I be better than that? Because they're ahead of me, but in a couple of years I'll probably be at that same level. So that's kind of my idea when it comes to choosing my favorite people or just choosing a person. Period. How can I be better than you? I took that Kobe Bryant mentality. Right. At the end of the day, it's all fun and games, but I'm trying to be better than you. I want to be. I hate when people say I want to be the next this. No, I want to be. I don't want to be the next anybody, because my story is different from yours. And I think as entrepreneurs, one thing that we have to realize is you can't mimic somebody else's success. If little Johnny made $1 million off of sales online, I can't take that mindset of I can do the same thing as him. No, how can I do it better or different than him? Your story is always going to be different. You may make $1 million just doing speaking. You may not do $1 million in sales. So I think as an entrepreneur, you have to figure out what's reality and what's for you. Once you figure it out and you know your self-worth and you know your value, you won't look at others the same. You always look at them as rivals, and I think that's a good thing. I think you have to have some type of friendly competition with other entrepreneurs, because there's 1 million of us out there doing the same thing, but only one of us can stick out and be the best. And that's my mentality.
I think you can model anyone, right? Like you can look at them, take ideas off of them, but you can't have a cookie cutter mentality. Exactly. Because, say you have two businesses or you have one business and it goes very well, and then you have another business and you try to implement the same exact strategies, exactly. Chances are it's not going to work, right? And you got to try something else, and you can still use those ideas, but not copy that person exactly. Now, when you speak to these kids, do you really tell them that there's two options nowadays? Of course, you can go through school, get your degree, and get a job. But do you also implement that, hey, you can also work for yourself nowadays through the power of the internet?
Yeah. I try to pitch both because it's granted, it can happen both ways. Me, I'm a mixture of both. I went to school and I did it the self-made way. So for our kids, you just want to paint a perfect reality for them. You don't want to tell them don't go to school, because somebody in that classroom is probably going to be a great doctor, a great scientist, a great teacher. They're going to be something. They may not be built for that entrepreneur route, because granted, everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people get in entrepreneurship. They don't make the money that they think they're going to make, and then they hurry up and get out. You never was an entrepreneur. You were just a follower. And so my thing with that is I try to give our kids a reality. I try to give you the hard truth. It's not going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a cakewalk. You're going to struggle at times. It's only made for certain people. But go out and find yourself within the entrepreneurship, whether it's being in school. And one of the things that I never try to do was I never try to push college so much, because every kid is not built for college, and every kid doesn't want to go to college. Often they feel peer pressure to go to college. So with that, provide them with tangible resources, provide them with options that they can abide to or that they can follow into. They don't always have to go the college route, because granted, he or she might have went to college and they might have got a degree in something that wasn't that good. But he or she could have went and picked up a trade made great money, and started their own business from that trade.
Mhm.
So you have to give our kids, you know, a way out and give them an
Yeah,
outlet to be different. You can't just force college. And that was something that
true.
when we created the Sanders Hand, we didn't want to force feed that into our kids.
Yeah, I think if you give someone just one option, they feel forced in a way. But if you say you can either go to school, go to trade school for 2 years, make money there,
Mhm.
or you can just take the entrepreneurship route. That's 33 options right there. So, I mean, yeah, it's got to give people some options and they can decide for themselves. If not, they just feel forced.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing now.
Exactly.
So what other projects do you have running right now? Because I know right now during COVID, it might have been a huge transition for your programs. What kind of things did you have to do to adapt to that?
Yeah. One of the biggest things, man, you just have to adapt to the new age. Everything is kind of virtual. And I kind of seen this a year ago. I knew everything would kind of go super technology based. So you just have to think ahead of the curve. How can we take it straight to our kids' back door? Right? Every kid is definitely not going to pay attention inside of a classroom. Now that you have them virtual, how can I bring it to them? Kids love video games. Kids love apps. Kids love social media. Create something that they can be attracted to, that looks just like a Snapchat or Instagram or a video game, right? So you just want to think of ways to be different. How can I be virtual, right? Create commercials, create fun commercials. Don't create something boring and with no sauce and no drip to it. Create something that just speaks to our kids. And so that was one of the things that we had to adapt to. How can I take the program from being in person, but take it virtual, but make it fun being virtual? Adapt to things, being able to speak online. A lot of my engagements have always been in person, so I have to learn how to speak through a camera. Still make it fun and dope, but change the game up. Just find ways to be different. You don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to be that person in a time like this where everything that's going on and you just didn't know how to adapt and you got lost. You don't want to be that, because at the end of the day, you have some momentum going for yourself. You don't want to lose it because you don't know how to adapt or you don't know how to change. People like that never make it in life because they don't want change. For me, I embrace change. This is a great outlook for me. It makes me more in tune with technology, makes me more in tune with social
Mhm.
media. And things like that. So that was some of the ways that we picked up to stay afloat. Now, granted, we may get back in school next year. Who knows? But if not, we're still going to be prepared if we're going virtual.
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, businessman, businesswoman, you have to adapt or
Yeah,
die. If not, then you're gonna go bust. And that's a huge part in any entrepreneur. You can't be afraid of that, because eventually, if you're in the game long enough, you're gonna see that and you're gonna have to make some moves,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And it's true that you say when you educate people, you got to be informative. You got to have some drip. Nowadays on TikTok, the reason why it's so powerful is because people are teaching things in a way that's fun. It's called infotainment. You're both entertained and you have
Mhm.
information, right?
Yeah,
If you just lecture someone, it can be very dry and stale. No one's going to really learn. People have
exactly.
short attention span. So if you add a way to make it fun, especially nowadays for these kids, I think they'll be more attentive to that information. So I
Exactly.
think that's like going back to how education right now is outdated. If schools and teachers can figure out a way to make education a little bit more informative, uh, then that's kudos for you. I think people start engaging a lot more.
Most definitely. Yep.
Yeah, that's why YouTube videos and TikToks, it might be the new wave. Everything's being online. Khan Academy. There's so many good resources out there that you can use to learn. So apart from COVID, in terms of your ambition, what's your overall ambition for? Do you want to write another book, create another business, or what?
For me, definitely going to write another book maybe in the next couple of years. Definitely want to produce a movie. Well, I'm not necessarily a movie, but a short film that kind of
Mm-hmm.
relates to art of giving and everything that I do. So those are some of the projects that we're looking at for 2021. Definitely have a lot of great things coming up. Definitely going to take Money Mondays to the next level. Sandy saying we're going to continue doing, we're doing our programs, scholarships, and things of that nature. But for me, the biggest thing for next year is stepping back into the rap game, but in a
Mm-hmm.
different sense, right? So I want to be able to create a motivational speaking album where it's not necessarily I'm rapping, but I'm actually speaking, but making it more like, fun, it's dope, it's a great sound. And so I haven't started, producing the songs yet, but we're playing with them. And hopefully by fall of 2021, the album be set. It's not going to be like a long album, not
Mm-hmm.
like a Kanye album or something like that, but it could be a couple tracks. And from there, you'll get a short film from it. So that's one of the biggest projects that I'm working on now. And I'm excited to get that out to the people.
You think there's going to be a new genre of music? Motivational speaking. It's not really rap, but
Yeah, I think so, man. I think I can create a barrier and create a lane for that. Because if you think about it, nowadays a lot of rappers don't usually rap like we used to in the early 2000s. If you listen to a lot of songs, they're just talking over a catchy beat. It sounds good. We're vibing to it. Like some of my favorite rappers, like in their on their album, some of their songs they're just naturally talking, and we literally jammed this. So I'm like, okay,
It's the beat.
if I can do that, but in a motivational sense, I can really create. It's kind of like a podcast, but it's more, hip and tuned. So that's exactly what I'm aiming for, and I'm excited, man. I'm gonna test it out, and we'll see where it goes. But I think it's gonna be dope for the culture, and I'm excited.
That's cool, bro. I mean, I feel like you had a passion for music, and you're not letting that go. Of course, you focused on the nonprofit, but if you love something so much, you can still incorporate that in a good way. And that's why I think, say you go to school for something for a specific degree, and you have a passion about something, right? If you can figure out a way to combine your passion with what you studied, that's perfect. And I think the best example, I don't know if it's true or not, but let's take this example where, you have a skateboard, say you love skateboarding and you went to school for electrical engineering you did electronics, people have made electric skateboards. Maybe that person that made that was a huge, he went to school for electronics, but he's a huge skateboarder, like enthusiast and whatnot. So he combined those two, created that product. And, if you got to take what you love and kind of incorporate it with what you're doing as of this moment, because you may not like your job, but if you can still find ways to make it fun, it's not going to feel like a job, right?
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm. So that's one of the big things that I've learned across the years and speaking to so many entrepreneurs. You got to find your passion, find what you love, because, just think about it. If you didn't love your nonprofit, it would have been a drag, and that would have been bad because, you may not have yielded the results that you really wanted, but because you felt so strongly about this message, this movement, you just, you could probably work 20-hour days without feeling tired. Right?
Exactly.
Is that something else that you really push forward to your students? I mean, finding a passion is hard. I mean, it sounds easy, but it's hard. What's one thing that you think that people should do, young kids should do to try to find their passion? Because the sooner they find it and they work on that for a long period of time, then they're going to become masters once they're in their 30s, mid 20s.
Passion, man, just go out and try so many different things, especially as a young person. Like, you literally have accesses and resources around you where you can try a lot of different things. And so I tell kids, you're going to find your passion. It's not going to just happen overnight. Sometimes it does, but go out there and try different things. For me, I try a lot of different things. I sold CDs at one point as like 11-year-old. I used to burn CDs from LimeWire and sell them. I was always into business and making money. So I did so many things. Sold some t-shirts at one time, tried the rap stuff, sold candy, right? I'm doing all these different things, and I just found my passion into what you notice is your passion is always there, but you learn it and you find it in different avenues of life. Me selling CDs was me just being a business person. Me doing everything that I did up until now was always a part of business and speaking. I just didn't know it yet. So go out. I just said, go out there and have fun. Go experience life. You're going to find your purpose in something. And once you do, you will know it because you will do it without even getting paid for it. And that's how you know you found your passion.
So you mentioned that entrepreneurship is very hard, not for everyone, but say you create one successful business, you create a book, and that's very, very hard initially, right? But now that you have these experiences, it has to come to a point where people now come to you and you have the leverage to say, yes, let's do this deal or not.
Yeah. Now you get a lot of solicitations about certain things. So it's okay, I got to sit back. I got to filter this. I got to check this out. I got to decipher this. And so now that you've done it on your own at a young age, and then still working for a Fortune 500 company or Fortune 50 company rather, you have so much leverage. Now it's like when people come to you, it's like, well, it's not always about the money, but it has to make sense. It has to align with everything that I do. So as an entrepreneur, you have to understand you can't take so much on. I think as young entrepreneurs, we try to take on every deal that comes across. You gotta evaluate these deals. That doesn't fit my brand. I don't think I should do this. I don't even think I'm capable of doing this. But as a young entrepreneur, I noticed I used to do this a lot. I used to take on so much. One of my first biggest deals, I was going to take on a school contract for a school fair, way above my head. I didn't even know enough yet, and that would have failed. I was like 19, 20. That would have failed miserably because I didn't know enough yet. But as a young entrepreneur, you're so greedy and hungry, you're willing to take any and everything. Now that I've experienced and I've had some success and I've had some failures, I realize you got to leverage these deals and know exactly what's for you and what's not. And so, nowadays when I get certain stuff, if it doesn't feel right, as soon as I first get it, I'm hesitant on it. You know, I'm not going to say no on it, but I'll check it out. And if I'm still not good on it, if I just have a doubt, like I don't think I can do this, I would just say no, because at the end of the day, I have to protect myself, protect my brand. And I also like to do stuff for the interests of the others. If I feel like I'm not benefiting others, or if I'm taking away from my community, and I don't want to put myself or my people in that situation.
And do you do anything to, you know, keep up with marketing trends or making new business moves? Because I feel as an entrepreneur, you can never be too comfortable.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I'm always trying to see ways to get better. I'm always continuously networking. Even with all the success you done had, I'm still in the trenches every day, networking, DM and emailing. I'm still working like I don't have anything, because I'm not satisfied yet. And I know I'm happy with everything that I got, but I know God has bigger plans for me. And so, you know, as an entrepreneur, you don't want to get caught up in the success super early. You know, I feel like I'm just touching the iceberg of who I am as an entrepreneur and as a person, as a businessman. I don't even think I hit my prime yet. So I can't get caught up in all the 1,000 likes or 500 likes. I can't get caught up in the fame right now, because I'm not all the way there yet. And so I'm continuously growing. I'm looking at ways to get bigger and better. You never want to get caught up. I look at it like this. Kobe Bryant was the best player in the league I'm a big Kobe fan, so I'm going to say for his whole career. When Phil Jackson left, he didn't make the playoffs. That little 2-year span when they first left, like in 2004 after Shaq left, he didn't make the playoffs. The team was real sorry. And he realized, okay, yeah, I'm good. And I'm making them a whole bunch of money. I'm scoring all of these points, but I need to get better. I need that coach. I need Phil. Phil Jackson came back, and a couple years later, Kobe won 2 more championships. I look at it just like that in my point in my life. Yeah, I'm achieving success. I'm doing great for myself. But why would I stop here? Because if I stop here, I won't get to the level that God or whatever is out there for me. So if I stop now, everything stops with it. I can't do that to myself and can't do that to my family and to my supporters. So I'm going to always keep pushing. I'm always going to see what's next. You know, one thing that I look at too, 2021, what are some great businesses to start in 2021? It's barely even Thanksgiving, and I'm already in 2021. You know, that's just type of mindset that I try to, you know, carry for myself.
Yeah. So kind of like that analogy of Kobe and Phil Jackson. Of course, Phil Jackson is the GOAT, probably the greatest coach of all time in any sport, right? I think he has over 10 rings. Point is, you know, as an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, do you think it's important to find that mentor? You know, find someone who you have aspirations to kind of be, you know, learn from them, and then from there kind of evolve as a person and create your own lines of businesses.
Yeah. Going back to that Kobe analogy, man. Like I said, Kobe could have dominated the game for those next remaining years, but he wasn't going to win anything. He knew, I need to get over that hump. I need to bring in the mentor, bring in that coach. Entrepreneurs have to do the same thing. And sometimes people as entrepreneurs, we try to go and get a mentor that may be doing way better in that field, or may just be, you know, dominating and making a whole bunch of money. But in reality, you may just honestly need a therapist mentor, a spiritual mentor. You know, I think you need to bring in somebody to help you along the way and help you find your purpose and help you take your mind away from certain things. And I think every entrepreneur needs that. But it's important to find somebody that's intentional, because a lot of mentors in this game, man, they'll do it because of the money. And you may pay $5,000 to be mentored by somebody because they have everything going on the gram, and I don't learn nothing from you. I could learn everything I learned from you through YouTube, but I paid you $5,000. So you have to be kind of strategic in picking a mentor, and it has to be the right fit. For me, you know, I think for me, one of the most important things that I got was a spiritual mentor, somebody that helped me in my walk of faith, somebody that helped me understand life a lot easier. That helped my business flourish so much because I just let go and let God take over everything. Now I don't necessarily stress about certain things. Now I get in certain opportunities because I've allowed a certain a walk of faith into my life. And so I didn't need to go and get a financial mentor or something like that. Maybe not now. Maybe in a couple of years from now I may get that. But I didn't need that at that point in my life. So I think people should really, you know, be strategic on who am I picking and what exactly do I need in my life. And once you find that out, go and get a mentor. Go and find somebody that you can pick up the phone and vent to, and they can just tell you the real and help you get through these situations, because that person is going to change your life drastically. You're not going to even know it.
For sure, bro. And I think, you know, with so many entrepreneurs in the space, you can easily DM them online. You know, hopefully they're around you within a 5-mile radius. I'm pretty sure there's so many entrepreneurs within your 5-mile radius that you can hit up and just, you know, learn from them. Right. And of course, you can learn the fundamentals on Google and YouTube. Once you have those fundamentals, of course, going to be a lot of nuances that you have to learn. And those things you can learn them from the mentor who's been there, done that, who has all that experience. So, and I think, you know, you have to let go of your ego, because like you said, you can do everything yourself, and that's true. You could do everything yourself, but it's going to take much longer to learn everything and apply it. Right. But if you have a mentor, he can just teach you from his experiences, and, you know, it'll be a lot more efficient. And I think for any entrepreneur, time is of the essence, right?
Most definitely.
Now, how does your day kind of look like as an entrepreneur? Everyone, if you go on the Instagram feed, they say, oh, you have to wake up at 5 a.m., read a book, do a meditation. But I think
Yeah.
everyone has their own workflow. You can still be successful with 8 hours of sleep. So just to provide context here, like what's your workflow like?
For me, man, I try to wake up at least anywhere from, I think me solid is at 6. Getting up at 4 is a little extreme. I don't think that. As an entrepreneur, you have to have rest. You got to be well rested. You can't just be out here on no hours of sleep. I don't like that analogy. I will never tell somebody don't sleep, don't eat. Are you crazy? You got to take care of yourself. But no, I get up pretty. I guess you could say early. Get up. Check the feed, check what's going on. Listen to a song. For me, my Alexa wakes me up and she plays like one of my most motivational songs. Every couple months I change the song up. It could be a gospel song, be my favorite rap song, my favorite scripture, whatnot. You want to pray in the morning, definitely want to eat in the morning and things like that. And you just kind of want to stimulate your mind. I don't think you should wake up with a whole bunch of going on. Wake up, take a shower, feel good, pray, and just get out and do your day. Those days that I stick to my routine 100%, I always have great days. If I'm up early, took a shower, prayed, made my bed, took my dog out, did everything I had to do, go get some coffee, whatnot, I always have great days. The days I wake up sluggish and just getting straight to nonsense, yeah, my day is just out of there, But I think as an entrepreneur, you have to find something that fits you. Do not get on Instagram looking at so-and-so telling you don't eat, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, when are you actually getting a full 8 hours of sleep? When are you getting, enough rest? Because you're going to find yourself fatigued throughout the day. I always tell people that I'm going to sleep. I'm going to get my rest.
Mm-hmm.
If I even have to sleep into 8 some days, I'm going to get my rest. I'm never going to be that person that's going to wake up at 4 for what? At the end of the day, I got to put out the best version of myself. And that's not being the best version of me if I'm waking up every day at 4.
For sure, man. And do you think it's important to have, a regimen, a written down regimen, have a schedule down week by week? Because if you have a schedule per se, you can just be consistent with it.
Yeah.
It takes like 2 weeks to get into the habit.
Yeah.
But once you have that regimen, things start to click.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I think you should have a schedule. For me, I use my reminders. I remind myself of the silliest things. Take out the chicken. Take out this. Use Google Calendar. Use our phones. Leverage the technology that we have. I think you got to stick to some type of routine as an entrepreneur, because if not, every day won't look the same. But at some time, you still need some type of routine that you can abide to and you can fall back on. And that's what keeps me afloat. I got a million things going on. I'm a DM over here at Pepsi, so I'm running a multi-million-dollar business over here, and at the same time, I'm running my businesses over here. So at some point, I gotta have a routine set in stone and in place. So for me, being a person that jack of all trades, I gotta have some time where I stick to business and I stick to myself. And for me, it's been quite successful so far. And I'm still evolving and still growing at it each and every day. But that's just something that I'm going to try to be better at. And because, like I said, you can't take care of nobody else if you can't take care of yourself.
Yeah. And do you have any tools that are low key that no one really talks about that can make you a better entrepreneur, a better organizer, just be more productive throughout the day?
Yeah. I would say, man, one of the things that I feel like people do not necessarily, they talk about it, but I don't think they tap into it too much, is investing in self. You always hear, go read a book, go do this, go watch this many videos. Forget all that, man. Go work out, go shopping, go eat your favorite food. The more time you spend with yourself as an entrepreneur, it stimulates your mind. The days that I know I'm dedicating to me, while I'm getting a haircut, I may go get a manicure and pedicure because I want to stay clean, I want to stay fresh. Some new shoes came out, I'm going to go get this. The more time that you invest into self, you pick up a different love for yourself. The more that you love yourself and the more investments you made into yourself, you become the best entrepreneur that you can be, because you're afraid of nothing. Your confidence is at an all-time high. You're willing to go into a room full of millionaires and say the most bogus thing because you love yourself hard enough. And in reality, when you do things like that, that's how business is done. You're not afraid to go and talk to the CEO of this company. Everybody else in the room is afraid to talk to him. You go and talk to that person because you invested so much into yourself. And that's something that I feel that people should harp on more. Not go and read Think and Grow Rich a million times. Yeah, that book is great, but at the same time, what are you doing to invest into self? Do you have the confidence in self? Once you develop those things, you can be the best entrepreneur that you can be. Once I learned that trick and that trade of investing into self, man, I feel like I was unstoppable.
No, I totally agree. And of course, you can read all these books, but until you apply something, it becomes theory, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta, of course, you can learn and learn and learn, but you gotta take action eventually, take that initiative. And yeah, man, as an entrepreneur, if you achieve something, if you've mastered something, your confidence should be high enough where you're not, you don't put anyone on a pedestal. You can speak to them eye to eye and, bounce ideas off each other. No matter how successful he or she is, you're successful too in your respect, right? So don't put anyone on a pedestal, and don't be afraid to really network,
Yeah, most definitely.
So Sebastian, I don't want to take too much of your time here. So if people want to learn more about you, pick up your book, learn more about your nonprofit, your ventures and other projects, where can they find that?
Yeah, man. So you can follow me on Instagram at Sebastian J. Sanders. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can get with me on Twitter at Sebastian James with 2 E's. All of my social media platforms, link in my bio. You can access my LinkedIn page. You can access my YouTube, the Sanders Hand page. We have the link to get your books on Amazon, or you can get your autographed copies. And just tap in with me, man. My email is in my bio as well, info.sebastiansanders@gmail.com. I love collaborations. I love doing podcast interviews, man. So just connect with me. Let's grow. Let's build. Thank you so much, man, for the opportunity. This was a great conversation, man. I can't wait to see us, continue to stay connected and do some more work here in the near future.
For sure, bro. So I'll put that in the description. So if anyone wants to click on that, hit you up, they can easily do that. All right, Sebastian?
Yeah.
All right, Sebastian, pleasure.